Hello Geometry. Today's lesson is entitled Segments, Rays, Parallel Lines, and Planes. Well, last time we learned about lines, how they are infinite. They are a series of points that extend infinitely in both directions. But now we're going to learn about parts of lines and different types of lines. So the first vocabulary word you see is the word segment. Now, what is a segment? Well, a segment is a part of a line with two endpoints. Now the key here is it's a part of a line. So many times when people describe segment, they'll say it's a line with two endpoints. Well, by definition, a line is infinite, so it can't have two endpoints. But we have to specify saying it's a part of a line with two endpoints. So for instance, here's a picture of a line, so a segment would just be the section between these two endpoints. So this technically here is what we call a segment. Okay, so a part of a line with two endpoints. Well, how about a ray? What is a ray? A ray is a part of a line with one endpoint. So again, the segment has two endpoints, whereas a ray has one endpoint and extends infinitely in one direction. Okay? So segment, two endpoints, ray, part of a line with one endpoint. Okay, now what are parallel lines? Parallel lines are coplanar lines that do not intersect. So the key also here is coplanar. So they have to be on the same plane and they do not intersect. That's what parallel lines are. Now most of, if not all of you, already knew that word, but the next one is a new word. It's called skew. What are skew lines? Skew lines are non-coplanar lines that do not intersect and are not parallel. And we'll get to a diagram a little later so you can get a better visual of what that means. And lastly, we have parallel planes. Parallel planes are planes that do not intersect. Okay, so parallel planes are planes that do not intersect. If you think about kind of a visual idea of, if you think about stairs that you're stepping on, the steps that you're actually stepping on are planes that do not intersect because they're usually parallel to each other. Okay? Parallel planes. Now, let's talk about how to label segments and rays. We talked about how to label a line. We labeled the line last time by, blue's not a great color with this background, by using two capital letters and using arrows on both sides. That was for a line. Well, for a segment, what you would do, if you're just going from A to B, one endpoint to another, we make the segment above it without the arrows. So you don't need to put arrows, or don't need to, you would not put arrows in order to signify that it is a segment that you're talking about. Now a ray, what you would do, depending on what direction you want to go, because with a segment you could also go in reverse, and it means the same thing. These two right here are not different segments. You're talking about the same segment. But the ray, on the other hand, you have to be clear on where your starting point is. Where is the one endpoint? So if I want to say the endpoint is at Y, it's going to go infinitely through X. So I'm always going to draw my arrow to the right. Okay, so again, starting at Y, going through X. That is very different from X going through Y, because what that would signify is your X is your endpoint and it's going infinitely through Y. That's what this one would be. So a ray, the order does matter which one comes first, depending on where the endpoint is. A segment, on the other hand, it doesn't matter which one you want to start with. I personally just like to do alphabetically which one comes first, but that's just me. So here, let's get a little practice in. Name three different segments and three different rays from this diagram here. Well, one segment we can say, again, just you choose any combination of two letters. So we have LP as an option, PQ, again we just draw the segment with no arrows above it, and LQ. Those are three possibilities for naming segments. Rays, on the other hand, we could say ray LP, ray PQ, and ray QP. Those are three possibilities. There are other rays you could name in this diagram, but here are three examples. Again, L going infinitely through P, P going infinitely through Q, but the last one, we switch the letters saying the endpoint is at Q going infinitely through P. Okay, so those are the three possible rays. Now let's get to naming planes. Again, when you're naming planes, if there are 4 letters there on the plane, you would just use those 4 letters. So here it says name 2 pairs of parallel planes. So we have something that signifies, it looks like a rectangular prism there. The only reason why it looks like a box, even though planes are infinite, is because you cannot draw something that's infinite. It's not possible. So we have to make it look like a box, even though we can, in our minds, know that these planes extend infinitely. But we have to name 2 pairs of parallel planes. So technically there are 6 planes in this diagram. Okay, there's the front, there's the back, there's the top, there's the left, there's the right, and then there's underneath. Okay, so we have 6 planes that we can write down, and we have to write down 2 pairs of parallel planes. Okay, 2 pairs. So we're actually going to name 4. So the first pair, you just choose a plane and write down 4 letters that make up that plane in order. So I'm going to start with A and work my way around. So A, B, C, D. That is the front plane. Well, that is parallel. By the way, I should tell you, parallel, the symbol looks kind of like an 11. That's what parallel is. Plane ABCD is parallel to the back one, which would be G, H, I, J. That is 1 pair of parallel planes. But we have to come up with 2 pairs. So another one, you could say the left side, which is AGJD. AGJD. That's going to be parallel to, that would be parallel to this plane right here, which would be B, H, I, C. Okay? And there we go. So again, parallel planes, start at one point, work your way around, and that would be the front, and then it would be parallel to the back. So again, we just have to make sure we label correctly, and make sure you go in order. Okay? Alright, name a line that is parallel to GHIJ. So we have here GHIJ. Name a line that's parallel to that. Well, again, you can't use a line that's on that plane. So technically, we have 4 possibilities that are parallel to that. Because there are 4 sides on that plane, or 4 edges that we see, we have 4 possibilities. So I'm just going to do the top one here. This line right here, AB, is parallel to that plane. So we would say line AB. That's a possibility. You could have also used AD, because that's parallel to that one. You could have said DC, because that's parallel to JI. And you could have said BC, because it's parallel to HI. So there's many different possibilities. So it's not just one option for or one possible answer on some of these. Okay? I hope that helped. So good luck.